Wipe out every mosquito breeding on your property and keep your entire yard clear all summer long, without spraying yourself down every single time you step outside, and without paying a company to come fog your grass every 2 weeks. Sounds impossible? It is not. The reason most people cannot win this fight has nothing to do with how many times they have reached for a can. There is a layered method the military has relied on for decades to keep entire camps clear in jungles where mosquitoes carried malaria, and almost no homeowner has ever heard of it. Once you understand why it works, you will never waste another dollar on a bug zapper. Let's go. You know the moment. It is early evening, the heat is finally breaking, and you step out onto the back deck to enjoy it. Within seconds, you feel the first one land on your arm, then your ankle. You look toward the shaded fence line and the tall grass along the property edge, and the air over there is practically moving. The kids last 10 minutes before they are scratching and asking to go back inside. So you give up, close the door, and write off your own backyard for another night. Here is the thing most people never understand about this fight. The mosquito landing on your arm is the very last stage of a problem that started days ago. In water, you probably walked right past. A mosquito does not need a pond. It needs a film of standing water as small as a bottle cap. A clogged gutter, a flower pot saucer, a forgotten kid's toy, an old tire behind the shed, the low spot in the yard that holds rain for 3 days. The female lays her eggs there, and the larvae that hatch can only survive in that water. From egg to biting adult takes about 1 week. That is why they seem to appear out of nowhere and never stop. They are not flying in from somewhere far away. They are being manufactured right there on your own terrain, in water you did not even know you had. And here is the part that should concern every homeowner. The mosquito is not just a nuisance. It is the single deadliest animal on Earth, killing more people every year than any other creature through diseases like malaria, dengue, and West Nile. Right here in the United States, West Nile virus alone sickens about 2,000 people every year, and more than 120 of them die from it. Over the years since it first showed up, that virus has put tens of thousands of Americans in the hospital with brain and nervous system damage. And the worse the breeding conditions in your area, the more of those infected mosquitoes are flying. This is not a comfort problem. It is a health problem with a body count, and the yard you ignore is part of the supply chain. Now let me tell you why almost everything sold to homeowners for this fails. The bug zapper glowing on the porch is the worst offender of all. In one university test, a single zapper killed around 10,000 insects in one night, and only 8 of them were mosquitoes. The rest were harmless or beneficial bugs. Worse than that, the light and the carbon dioxide your body gives off actually pull more mosquitoes into your yard, not fewer. Those ultrasonic gadgets and the phone apps that claim to drive mosquitoes off with sound are no better. State attorneys general have gone after the companies selling them because the research has never once backed up the claims. Citronella candles cut your odds of a bite by maybe 20 to 40% in dead still air, while a real repellent does better than 95%, and the first breeze carries that little bit of protection away. Even DEET, which genuinely works, only protects the patch of skin you put it on. It does nothing about the yard itself. I am telling you, the common thread running through every one of those failures is the same. Each of them goes after a single flying adult and completely ignores the water where the next 1,000 are already growing. When I was overseas in the jungle, where the mosquitoes carried diseases that could put a man in a hospital tent for weeks, we learned fast that you do not beat them by swatting. You beat them in layers. You attack the water, you treat the surfaces where they rest during the day, and you protect the perimeter around the people. That is the entire secret. And there is a 3-layer system that professional and military pest teams have used for years that almost no homeowner has ever been shown. The first layer is the one everybody skips, and it is the most important. You go after them in the water before they ever grow wings. It starts with simple terrain control. Every saucer, bucket, and clogged gutter that holds water is a breeding site, and getting rid of that standing water removes the nursery entirely. But for the water you cannot drain. The bird bath, the rain barrel, the drainage ditch, the low spot that floods after every storm, there is a product that does the work for you. It is called Mosquito Dunks, made by Summit Chemical. The smaller, faster-acting version is sold as mosquito bits. The active ingredient is called BTI, which stands for Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis, a bacterium that occurs naturally in soil. Here is what makes it brilliant. Once it is in the water, it floats and slowly releases the BTI. The mosquito larvae feed on it, and within 24 hours, they are dead. One dunk keeps working for about 30 days and treats roughly 100 square feet of water surface. And this is the part that matters for a family. BTI is deadly to mosquito larvae and harmless to everything else. People, pets, fish, birds, even honeybees are not affected, and there is no documented resistance to it. This is exactly the source reduction discipline we used overseas, where draining and treating standing water around camp was not a chore. It was how you kept people from getting sick. Kill the nursery, and the cloud over your fence line starts shrinking before you ever spray a single thing. But killing the next generation is only half the war. You still have the adults that are alive right now, resting in your yard today, waiting for the sun to drop. So the second layer goes after exactly where they are hiding. Mosquitoes do not spend their day out in the open. They tuck into the cool, shaded, humid spots, the underside of leaves, the dense shrubs, the tall grass along the fence, the dark space under your deck. That is where the second layer does its work. The professional standard is a product called Talstar P, also sold as Talstar Pro, made by FMC. The active ingredient is bifenthrin at 7.9%, a synthetic version of a compound found in chrysanthemums. When it goes down on those shaded resting surfaces, it becomes a defensive barrier. A mosquito that lands there picks it up, and the bifenthrin attacks its nervous system, causing paralysis and then death. One treatment holds its residual for up to 3 months. It is safe for pets once it has dried, and it actually lasts longer on the surface than most other products in its class because it resists breaking down in sunlight. This is the same kind of long residual chemistry we relied on in the field, where relentless heat and humidity would destroy a weaker product in a matter of hours. You are not spraying the air and hoping. You are turning the exact places they shelter into ground they cannot survive. And now, here is where it gets really interesting, because the third layer is the one that genuinely changed this fight. It is called the In2Care Mosquito Station, and this one is a game changer. It looks like a small, dark bucket of water, which is exactly the kind of spot a female mosquito wants to lay her eggs in. But inside is a treated gauze carrying 2 agents, an insect growth regulator called pyriproxyfen and a natural fungus called Beauveria bassiana. Watch what happens. A pregnant female flies in, lands on that gauze, and picks up both agents on her body. Here is the clever part. The fungus is slow on purpose. It does not kill her right away, so she flies back out, and visits all the other little hidden water sources around your property to lay her eggs. The tree hole you never knew was there, the clogged corner of the gutter, the puddle under the shed. And everywhere she goes, she carries that growth regulator with her, poisoning breeding sites you could never find or reach on your own. The pyriproxyfen stops those larvae from ever becoming adults, and then, 8 to 10 days later, the fungus finally takes her too. She becomes your delivery system, spreading the cure to the enemy's own hiding places. Now, this layer works gradually, so you usually see the real drop in 2 to 4 weeks rather than overnight. But it reaches them where absolutely nothing else can. Now here is what surprises people once all 3 layers are running together. The dunks shut down the nursery and the water you can see. The in-2 care station reaches the breeding sites you cannot. And the barrier treatment clears out the adults resting in the shade right now. You are no longer fighting one mosquito at a time at dusk with a useless can in your hand. You have cut off the supply, poisoned the hidden water, and turned the resting zones lethal, all at the same time. Give it a few weeks, and that fence line stops moving in the evening. The deck becomes yours again. You can sit out there with a coffee after dark and not slap your own neck every 30 seconds. The kids stay out until the fireflies come up, and you have to call them in yourself. That is not luck, and it is not one miracle product in a bottle. It is the same layered discipline that kept entire camps clear in places far worse than your backyard, scaled down to the patch of ground your family actually lives on. So now you know exactly why mosquitoes seem to own a yard, why almost everything sold to homeowners fails, and what actually wipes them out. You attack the water, you treat the surfaces, and you reach the hidden breeding sites they think are safe. Handle all 3, and you win the whole season. If you have battled mosquitoes around your own home before, drop the worst spot you ever dealt with in the comments. I read every single one of them. Thank you for watching. God bless.